I wanted to continue here with something that we got into because you guys are in a funny place with the Marlins that I totally understand. And it is the worst place for a sports franchise to be. The sports franchise would prefer its customers to be angry because angry means you still care. The way that Chris Cody and Stugotz just talked about what the Marlins just did, indifferent.
No anger.
Yeah.
Indifferent is the worst thing that you have in a customer base. And this franchise has very much earned that indifference because it has burned through so much anger that turns into betrayal. I thought that was largely dead in me. And when I saw Jazz Chisholm rounding the bases, wearing the Yankee uniform, reflexively, I did not want that to exist in me.
Right.
I got bothered all over again, and it feels to me like how the argument with your wife or husband that's not actually about leaving the toilet seat up, but all the other resentments.
Right.
My anger about the Jazz Chisholm thing isn't contained within Jazz Chisholm, because I can make all the logical arguments for why it is you should trade for prospects and rebuild the whole thing, burn it all down with every value that you've ever had. But I've already seen them do that with Ozuna, Stanton, and Yelich, bringing back all the players that weren't good enough and then waited for these to get good enough, and now they're trading their entire bullpen as well.
You had some night last night. You really have the full range of emotions. How many reactions did you have? I mean...
Well, I care about sports still, Stugotz.
Hey, highs and lows, and lows. Just a night. I mean, in August.
You're a one percenter when it comes to Marlin fandom, right? You were there from the beginning. Baseball's in your heart. Like, that feeling that came back to you that you didn't expect. I don't know if Chris Cody even had it, who is one of the biggest Marlins fans I know. Did you have that?
2%er, Chris Cody.
I agree with Dan. Like, Jazz is a good player. I didn't dislike Jazz. With this Marlins team, they weren't going. They're a last-place team. And usually these trades, all the prospects we get back are like, oh, they didn't even get good prospects. Everything you're reading from this one's like they said, we gave up Trevor Rogers, and the Orioles fans are pissed at they gave up. So the reports are that and the Padres gave up a bunch. So, like, the reports are better for the haul that we got than they usually are.
Agreed. And I understand that it's difficult to sell people on prospects because they prefer names and something they have already seen. But I would simply tell you that my anger starts with Derek Jeter got away with doing nothing here that was positive. Zero.
Playoffs.
Zero positive things that he did. You're telling me playoffs? It's 30-31 they went during
playoffs is playoffs.
You got Sandy in a trade.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an illustrious list of achievements. There's 2 World Series championships early on in the franchise's history, and then Jeter has tied for first the other achievement.
But Dan loves baseball. It's a body of work thing. That's what it is for you. It's just a body of work. You love baseball. You wanted baseball to work down here. It has a couple of years where they won it all, but for the most part, it hasn't.
It's not just body of work. It's the consortium of teaming up with the people in power in baseball to ransack South Florida and kill the sport here because of the greed around the business. When you tell me Jeter, with all of the things that they did, and you're still making an argument on behalf of Jeter when...
Not making an argument, just pointing out things.
The reason the franchise is in this kind of disrepair is because he came down here to be the latest of the saviors, cashed out, made a ton of money himself, and didn't actually leave the organization in any better of a position than
that's
it was
most
in
guilty
before.
is a guy we just had on who inflated the
Him
franchise's
too.
value and got an owner that literally couldn't afford his price tag. Like, you keep complaining about it, you just have the guy that's most responsible for it on.
You mentioned the latest of the saviors. That to me is, hey, if you don't understand what's happening here, there's not going to be a savior. It's going to keep happening, and this is what's happened to me.
It's just like you're blaming Derek Jeter for taking a good deal. But you're not blaming David Samson for taking a good deal.
Mike, I don't spend any time blaming David
No,
Sampson.
I'm
Why don't you
saying, but-
ask David Sampson if I spend any time blaming
But
David Sampson?
it's all
How
Jeter is
much
like
time?
a ghost of Christmas past. It doesn't matter.
$5 from each of you.